The story of the Comanche begins with a quiet mystery deep in the mists of the American Southwest. Centuries ago, this once small and obscure group of hunter-gatherers lived a modest existence in the harsh terrain of the Rocky Mountains. But something extraordinary happened in the late 1600s that would change their destiny forever, an event that transformed them into one of the most powerful and feared peoples on the plains. Who were these people? How did they rise so swiftly and fiercely, leaving a legacy that still echoes through history? The Comanche tale is one of survival, dominance, and transformation, an extraordinary journey marked by power, courage, and mystery. Here are 15 fascinating facts that uncover their incredible story. Fact number 1. Before their rise, the Comanche relied on dogs to move across the plains, a humble beginning for a fierce tribe. Long before the Comanche became known for their dominance on the plains, they relied on dogs for survival and transportation. The use of dogs, particularly for pulling travois, simple sleds made from wooden poles and hides, was essential in moving their belongings during migrations. These migrations were limited in scope, as dogs could only carry so much weight, but it allowed the Comanche to follow the seasonal movements of game and adjust to the harsh conditions of the Rocky Mountains. In this early stage of their history, the Comanche were a modest, nomadic people who depended on their environment for sustenance. Their use of dogs demonstrated their adaptability and resourcefulness in an unforgiving landscape. Little did they know, a transformation awaited them that would propel their tribe into a new era of expansion and power, forever altering their way of life and their place in history. Fact number 2. A single event in the 1600s changed everything for the Comanche, turning them into some of the most skilled riders in history. A pivotal moment in Comanche history occurred in the late 1600s when they encountered a new form of power, the horse. The introduction of horses revolutionized their society, allowing them to travel faster, farther, and more efficiently than ever before. The Comanche quickly became renowned for their skill as horsemen, mastering mounted warfare and hunting with extraordinary precision. This new mobility drastically expanded their influence and opportunities. Horses became the cornerstone of Comanche life, representing not only a means of transportation, but a symbol of status and wealth. The tribe's way of life was reshaped as they became expert hunters and formidable raiders, spreading their influence across the plains. Their mastery of horseback riding became so profound that they developed a reputation as some of the most feared and skilled riders in North America, forever changing the course of their history. Fact number 3. The Comanche expertly adapted to seasonal migrations, adjusting to shifting landscapes and climates for survival. The Comanche were expert nomads, relying on precise seasonal migration patterns for survival. They followed the natural cycles of the land, particularly buffalo migrations. During the warmer months, they moved across the Great Plains, gathering essential resources. In winter, they retreated to sheltered areas like river valleys or mountains, where the weather was less severe and they could better protect their families. This constant movement allowed the Comanche to fully exploit the vast territories they controlled while avoiding overuse of any single region. Their deep understanding of the land and its seasons ensured they remained resilient in a challenging environment. Their ability to adapt to the changing seasons and terrain was crucial to their survival and played a key role in their dominance over the southern plains for centuries. Fact number 4. The Comanche swiftly rose to power, earning the title Lords of the Southern Plains through their unmatched dominance. With their newfound prowess on horseback, the Comanche began to expand their reach and influence, eventually earning the title Lords of the Southern Plains. Their military tactics, combined with their speed and mobility, allowed them to claim dominance over vast stretches of land. They were able to defend their territory from rival tribes and settlers alike, striking swiftly and disappearing just as quickly, making them nearly invincible in open combat. This dominance gave them unprecedented control over the resources and trade routes that crisscrossed the plains. They became gatekeepers of the southern plains, dictating terms to anyone who wished to pass through or settle in their territory. This position of power lasted for generations, shaping the political and economic landscape of the region while cementing the Comanche's fearsome reputation among both indigenous tribes and European settlers. Fact number 5. Buffalo were central to the Comanche way of life, providing much more than just food. This animal defined their survival. Central to Comanche life was the buffalo, a creature that provided them with nearly everything they needed to survive. From the meat they consumed to the hides used for clothing and shelter, the buffalo was integral to their way of life. Their hunting skills were unparalleled, and they developed sophisticated techniques for tracking and killing buffalo in large numbers. Their success as hunters made them one of the most self-sufficient and resilient tribes on the plains. The Comanche's reliance on the buffalo also shaped their economy. They traded buffalo hides and other goods with neighboring tribes and settlers, which allowed them to maintain and expand their influence. The buffalo herds that roamed Comancheria were the foundation of their wealth, and they fiercely protected both the herds and their land from any threats. Their mastery of buffalo hunting sustained their society for centuries. Fact number 6. Shamanic rituals and a deep spiritual connection to nature shaped the Comanche's worldview in ways that are still mysterious. Spirituality was a cornerstone of Comanche culture, with shamans acting as the mediators between the physical world and the spiritual realm. The shamans played a vital role in everyday life, conducting rituals for healing, successful hunts, and victory in battle. Their knowledge of herbs, rituals, and spiritual practices made them essential figures within the tribe, and their guidance was often sought before important events like raids or migrations. The Comanche believed in a world deeply connected to nature, where spirits inhabited animals, the land, and even the elements. Shamans were tasked with interpreting the signs from these spirits, ensuring that the tribe remained in harmony with the forces that governed their world. Through ceremonial practices, they fostered a sense of unity and balance, reinforcing the spiritual and cultural bonds that held the tribe together in the face of external pressures. Fact number 7. Comanche boys were raised to be fierce warriors from a young age, training for a life of battle and honor. The Comanche were widely regarded as one of the most formidable warrior societies on the plains. Boys were trained from an early age to ride, hunt, and fight, with martial prowess considered the highest measure of a man's success. War was not only a means of survival, but also a way to gain prestige and influence. Comanche warriors were feared for their speed, agility, and tactical brilliance in battle, often launching surprise raids on rival tribes and settlers. Their warrior culture was deeply ingrained in their identity, and success in battle brought honor to both the individual and the tribe. The ability to outmaneuver opponents on horseback, combined with their superior knowledge of the terrain, gave them an edge in nearly every confrontation. This relentless focus on warfare helped the Comanche maintain control over their land and repel outside forces for much of their history. Fact number 8. Capturing outsiders during raids wasn't just about warfare. It played a strategic role in growing Comanche society. Taking captives during raids was a common practice for the Comanche, both as a means of warfare and for expanding their own community. Women and children were often integrated into the tribe, adopting the Comanche way of life and becoming part of the social fabric. These captives were not merely prisoners, they were absorbed into Comanche society, sometimes even rising to positions of prominence. The practice of taking captives also served as a tool of diplomacy and survival. In many cases, captives were ransomed back to their families or other tribes, creating opportunities for trade or negotiations. For the Comanche, this was a strategic way to replenish their population and maintain relationships with neighboring tribes. It demonstrated their pragmatic approach to survival, blending warfare, diplomacy, and community building in a way that strengthened their position on the plains. Fact number 9. The Comanche's powerful alliance with the Kiowa solidified their reign over the southern plains for generations. In the 18th century, the Comanche formed a strategic alliance with the Kiowa tribe. This partnership allowed both tribes to thrive, as they shared resources, coordinated raids, and defended each other from common enemies. The Comanche, with their superior cavalry, and the Kiowa, known for their strength and leadership, created a powerful force that dominated the southern plains for many years. This alliance wasn't just about warfare, it was also a cultural exchange. The two tribes intermarried and adopted elements of each other's traditions, creating a bond that was as much about mutual respect as it was about strategic necessity. Together, they resisted the encroaching European settlers and rival tribes, ensuring that their dominance over the plains remained uncontested for generations. The partnership exemplified the Comanche's ability to adapt and strengthen their position through collaboration. Fact number 10. The Comanche expertly navigated diplomacy, forging ties with European powers to secure their dominance and resources. The Comanche were not just warriors, but also adept diplomats. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, they engaged in complex negotiations with European powers such as the Spanish, French, and later the Americans. They strategically used diplomacy to maintain their dominance on the plains while securing resources, weapons, and favorable trade terms. This ability to play different powers against each other helped them retain control of their territory for much longer than many other tribes. Rather than merely relying on brute force, the Comanche employed shrewd tactics in their relations with these foreign powers, showcasing their political acumen. These negotiations often ensured that the tribe received vital supplies like firearms, which they used to defend their lands. This strategic balance of war and diplomacy helped them navigate the growing pressures of colonial expansion while maintaining autonomy over their territory. Fact number 11. Comanche women played an indispensable role in their society, shaping the tribe's survival and economy in unexpected ways. Comanche women played essential roles in maintaining the tribe's day-to-day life and economic stability. They were responsible for building and maintaining homes, preparing food, and crafting clothing from buffalo hides. Their expertise in tanning hides made them a crucial part of the Comanche's thriving trade economy, as these hides were highly valued by both other tribes and European traders. Women also managed the domestic sphere, raising children and ensuring the smooth operation of the camp while the men were away on hunting trips or raids. Though their roles were different from those of the warriors, women were indispensable to the tribe's survival. Their contributions to both the economy and the community ensured that the Comanche could continue to thrive even as external pressures mounted. Without the vital work of women, the tribe's success would not have been possible. Fact number 12. For decades, the Comanche fiercely resisted European settlers, delaying colonization and shaping the history of the frontier. The Comanche fiercely resisted European and later American encroachment on their land. As settlers began to move into the southern plains in the 18th and 19th centuries, the Comanche defended their territory through warfare and strategic raids. Their ability to outmaneuver both the Spanish and Mexican armies, as well as later American forces, made them a formidable opponent in the struggle for control of the plains. Despite their initial successes, the increasing presence of settlers, along with diseases brought by Europeans, began to erode the Comanche's power. Over time, the depletion of buffalo herds and the pressure of continuous warfare weakened their hold on the land. Nevertheless, their fierce resistance delayed colonization efforts for decades, and their determination to protect their territory became a defining element of their legacy. Fact number 13. Quanah Parker led the Comanche through a time of immense change, becoming a symbol of adaptation and resilience. Quanah Parker, the son of a Comanche chief and a captured Anglo-American woman, became one of the tribe's most famous leaders. Born in the 1840s, he grew up during a time of great change for the Comanche, as their way of life was increasingly threatened by American expansion. Quanah's leadership was instrumental in guiding the tribe through this turbulent period, particularly as they faced the challenges of reservation life. Unlike many of his predecessors, Quanah sought to bridge the gap between traditional Comanche ways and the new realities of life on the reservation. He became a prominent advocate for his people, negotiating with the U.S. government and helping the Comanche adjust to their new circumstances. His ability to adapt while still preserving elements of Comanche culture made him a symbol of resilience and strength in the face of overwhelming change. Fact number 14. The downfall of the Comanche came from more than just warfare. Natural forces and external pressures sealed their fate. The decline of the Comanche began in the late 19th century, driven by a combination of external forces. The near extinction of the buffalo, brought on by overhunting and the expansion of railroads, dealt a severe blow to their way of life. As their primary food source and economic foundation disappeared, the Comanche found it increasingly difficult to sustain their nomadic lifestyle. This, combined with continuous warfare against settlers and U.S. military forces, led to their eventual defeat. The Comanche were forced onto reservations in the 1870s, marking the end of their reign over the southern plains. Although they had resisted fiercely for decades, the overwhelming forces of colonization, disease, and economic destruction proved too much to overcome. The end of the buffalo marked the end of an era for the Comanche, forever altering their place in history. Fact number 15. The Comanche language holds the key to unlocking their culture and identity, now at risk of fading away. The Comanche language, part of the Uto-Aztecan family, was integral to their cultural identity and way of life. It was a language passed down through generations, primarily through oral tradition, with stories, songs, and history shared around fires. The language was a unifying force, connecting the scattered bands of Comanche people and reinforcing their shared heritage. However, like many indigenous languages, Comanche has faced a steep decline since the tribe's relocation to reservations. The pressures of assimilation and the dominance of English led to a sharp decrease in fluent speakers. Today, efforts are being made to revitalize the language, with programs aimed at teaching it to younger generations. This revitalization is about more than preserving words. It is about keeping the Comanche spirit and culture alive for future generations. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more fascinating facts and untold history.